Hello, welcome to the Brain Scrub, a somewhat improvised approach to mental health. My name is Glenn Sollers, I'm your host, and a couple of things I want to first of all share with you. Number one is that I will be starting to have live guests on the show. So excited about it. I got my extra microphone and I'm good to go and have some fantastic guests on the show. And also, this is an invite to anybody who'd like to be on the Brain Scrub. The criteria is that it would have to do with mental health, your personal experiences, how you got through certain things in your life, maybe trauma, anxiety, or you just have worked with people like that and you know some tips and tricks that you're willing to share with our audience. The second good news is why I'm doing this podcast, and I was actually really excited about this, and that is a follow-up to a podcast I did a little while ago about my brother and how things transpired ever since that podcast. And in fact, today was the day. And we were trying to schedule this, and he has 2 kids at home, and I want his undivided attention when I talk to him, because previously he might have been working in his shop, he might have been doing things around his house, or the kids are around. It's just not an ideal environment to have a deep conversation, which we actually did have. And we were trying to schedule this, and then I get a message from him yesterday saying, why don't we chat tomorrow? And I completely forgot about it, that I said, yeah, that sounds good. And then I get a text from him saying, Glenn, do you have time to talk? And my first text back was out of a place of fear of having the conversation. I lacked courage in the moment, and I said, well, today's not going to work. Let's talk on Wednesday. And then I saw my previous text to him saying, let's chat tomorrow. I'm like, darn, I better do it now. So we chatted. And I am so grateful. In fact, we talked for an hour and 45 minutes. And throughout the entire conversation, we were actually in a conversation, mainly respectful back and forth dialogue that led to us connecting at a level that I haven't connected with in terms of my brother for a long time. In fact, I've been kind of putting the issue aside and saying, you know what? I don't have to be part of his life if I don't want to be part of his life. If I don't want to talk to him, I don't have to talk to him. And we both shared what was going on, and we were able to put a lot of puzzle pieces together. For example, he was upset that I wasn't visiting him in the summer because I committed to maybe going out to Germany and seeing him and the kids. And I said I had no time. And I went and did a month away instead in Denver, Alaska, Wyoming, Utah, did a kayak adventure. And for him, that was very upsetting, and understandably so. And then I said to him, well, you know, the reason I didn't want to come out is something I never told you. And that is because I didn't want to be around you. I don't feel safe having a conversation with you. And we started talking about that. And I shared my perspective. He shared his perspective, and we definitely don't see eye to eye on different things, and that's okay. But what it came down to was I didn't feel safe having a conversation with my brother based on his way of interacting with me, and we definitely made that clear. And he also shared with me that he feels concerned that I'm going through so much, and that I'm doing this podcast, and that I've been through so much pain and trauma that it's come to this. And I said, you know what, brother, that's fine. I'm so grateful that you're concerned about me, and there's nothing to be concerned about. In fact, every year in my life gets better and better. Ever since I started unpacking the things that are holding me back and becoming a more authentic me, where I feel like I do fit in. And I was going for a walk afterwards, and I thought about this, and I think a good analogy to explain the differences between my brother and I are, well, based on historical stuff that happened to us for sure. And it's kind of like when we're about to deal with stuff or go into battle or trying to resolve a war, or you're a peacekeeper, or you're trying to win against another side, you generally put on some armor, you have some defenses on, so you gear up, like you're ready for battle. And then there's people that don't get into the war. They're not part of it. They might be indirectly part of it, but they're not exposed to what is going on, essentially. And if I look at the history between my brother and I was in the trenches of a war, which was a family conflict, psychological warfare, and sometimes physical warfare. My brother was in his room reading endless books. In fact, he's read so many books, like read the Hardy Boys collection, and also, oh my gosh, there's so many others that he read, like different series of books. He was in his room reading. So he wasn't in the trenches. And where do you think you get more trauma? In the trenches or by reading a book? And for sure, I was exposed to the battlefront. I was exposed to what was happening between my parents. I witnessed things that I wish I would have never witnessed. And that's what I experienced. He didn't. And I have more emotional armor on as a result. I'm hypervigilant. I'm really concerned about things. I'm worried. I feel it's up to me to resolve issues. And that part of me has manifested in so many different ways in my life, to many unhealthy ways, but also ways that are really positive. I was sharing in the last podcast that I'm so grateful for the work that I do and the work that I have done, because every day feels so much better. Self-awareness has been a gift for me in unpackaging these layers that are around me, these defense mechanisms to protect myself, the armor that I had to put on when I was going into battle and trying to get my parents to get along, or supporting my mom, or there I had my little brother with me, working with him, and my brother was part of my armor as well. Like there was times where I would be so afraid at night, I would knock on his wall, and the secret code was, "Can I sleep in your room?" And each word was a knock. And 2 was, "You're more than welcome to come into my room," which was a yes. And no was a bang, like just one bang. And quite often I got the 2 knocks, but there was many times I got the bang, "Leave me alone. I want to sleep on my own." And it was out of a place of fear. I experienced one time, my mom was in my room after an argument between my dad and her, and then my dad barged in, and I was fearing for my life. I didn't know what was going to happen. And my mom was kind of my protector. So perhaps it was just I needed some protection to feel safe. He didn't have the same experiences as I did. So it just goes to show you that through life, we may have siblings and we experience things differently, but we don't necessarily know what the other siblings have been through and why they do what they do. Today, we really got that appreciation for what was going on. By no means does he completely understand the work that I'm doing, and that sometimes I'm overanalyzing. But for me, I know deep in my heart that I've connected more with my heart versus my head, because I tend to overthink things. I tend to hyperanalyze. I tend to get into worry mode. And through self-awareness, I've actually gotten better at not doing that, at breathing, being in the moment. But I had to learn how to do it, because when you spend about 13 years of your life in the trenches, fighting a battle, trying to inspire people to get along and get out of conflict, or you're witnessing the conflict right in front of you as it's unfolding, it's hard to get that out of your mind because it becomes part of your programming. Today, the conversation he and I had was such a gift to me. And I believe it was such a gift to him, because we're able to let this stuff out. We're able to share that, you know what, we don't have to agree on things at times, but we can also treat each other with respect. And this gets into being conscious of things as well, being conscious of the impact that our actions have on another. Do they work or don't they work? What is the side effect? So I wanted to share that with you because, again, it's an exciting moment for me. I had the attitude for the last number of years that I don't want to talk to him. Whenever I talked to my brother, I felt fear. I felt psychologically unsafe. I felt that I might be attacked. I didn't feel good. And in any conversation or conflict, it's important that both sides leave it or even are engaged in the conflict with a sense of I'm being heard, I'm being understood. Maybe you don't have to agree with me, but it doesn't have to lead into insults or beliefs that the other person is wrong, you're right, or how dare they think that way. We all have a way of thinking, and I believe I achieved that, and my brother achieved that today, is what is our way of thinking, and what are our motivations, what are our wants. That easy to have the conversation. The fact that I looked at the phone, and I had to actually end the phone call because I have work to do, and he's also in a different time zone. But I could have talked to him probably for another good 2 to 3 hours. And I have not felt that way in so long. The connection I lost with my brother was repaired through a simple conversation. We both listened to each other. We both heard each other out. We both expressed our opinions. We both set our boundaries. And now we can move forward. In an earlier podcast, I talked about sibling rivalries and how that can really lead to family destruction. And this was just another example of that my niece and nephew were impacted by my actions. And I did not want that, but it's a fact that they were. They thought I was coming as well. I know they get along with me. We have a great time together. And because of unprocessed feelings, unprocessed discussions, things left on the table that would have remained impossible until my brother and I cleaned up the mess. Folks, consider people in your life that you have disagreements with. Have you tried having a conversation without trying to win, without trying to make them wrong, but from a place of, I'm here to understand what you're dealing with, but I'm also here to advocate for my own needs in a respectful way so that we can set a course for relationship, love, and dialogue. Thanks for listening.